Here we are, 11 minutes, 12 minutes past 8, speaking exclusively to GB News. The Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, has outlined how she will salvage the grooming gang inquiry after 48 hours of complete chaos.
Well, speaking to us last night, the Home Secretary said it's time for truth. For years, the victims were ignored. A few, this channel amongst them, listened to them and gave them voice. But to its eternal discredit, the state in its many forms did not heed their call until it was far too late.
Yeah, this comes after Jess Phillips is facing calls to resign. This is because she was the one who actually questioned whether the remit should be expanded and asked the victims to do that.
She didn't ask them.
Oh, sorry, she was involved in. I thought that she was actually.
But how did what she say yesterday, Charlie, go down?
Exactly.
How was it received?
Well, the panel had been asked, the panel of survivors were asked, do you want to expand the remit?
Right.
And that panel is independent of the Home Office.
Right, so where was Jess Phillips's thing?
Well, Jess Phillips wrote a letter to the Home Affairs Select Committee saying it was untrue that there was any risk that the scope could be expanded. And now, if you think about what it felt like for those survivors on that panel who've been told and asked, do you want to expand the remit, by this charity called NWG, who's running the panel, only for Jess Phillips to then say in a letter it's untrue that they're going to look at widening the scope. They took that very personally, especially because so many of those survivors were told throughout their lives, especially as children, that they were lying, that they weren't telling the truth. And I think this statement from Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, last night, I think they're trying to essentially take the conversation away from Jess Phillips a bit, because the Safeguarding Minister has got herself in a bit of a muddle here, and there is a lot of anger from those victims calling for her to resign, including Fiona Goddard, the survivor from Bradford, who shared with us these concerns that they had and the questions about expanding the remit. We reported on this last week, that a lot of survivors on the panel were worried about that expansion. And for the minister to say it's untrue that this could be a scope that could be expanded when they'd had that question asked did not go down well at all. Fiona Goddard was with Patrick Christie's last night and she echoed that call for her to resign.
Right, so this is...
So in my resignation letter, I made public about the attempts to widen the scope and also how the inquiry would be conducted, extending it from localities to regions. She said that them claims were categorically untrue, even though she was aware of them because of a personal text I'd sent to her outlining what we were being asked. And her response back to me was that she knew that the question was being asked and that she couldn't make the decision without it being consulted on. So she called me a liar while she knew the truth.
This is very difficult for Jess Phillips and the government, I think, for them to refer to those claims as untrue. It was also, I took it quite personally as well, to have the minister say in the House of Commons that there had been spreading misinformation and untrue claims. When I had evidence from September that these survivors had been asked this question.
But the difference is, Charlie, I'll just say this to you, to your absolute eternal credit. I listen to you, I believe you, I listen to Jess Phillips, I don't believe her.
The problem she's got, and I think it is something that the Home Office are going to be really conscious of, is that this panel was asked that question. They can't dodge that. They can say that this charity, NWG, was running this panel independently of the Home Office. But Jess Phillips herself knew that that question had been asked because survivors on the panel had told her about it. So it's a problem.
I think the problem with this is that you have headlines like that on the Daily Mail, grooming gangs inquiry in chaos, which when we look at all the other inquiries that we have, which take so long in the first place, and these are people who've been waiting for years
Penny,
for justice.
The problem is it's been politicised. It's a simple thing. Wrongs have been committed, absolutely atrocious things against these people. And people aren't seeing them as people. They're not looking and saying, look at how that girl's life has been ruined. Who did that? And they know who did it, and they're not doing anything about it. Make it simple. It doesn't have to be as complicated as they're making it.
It doesn't have to be complicated.
And amid all of this, last night's one woman, Jessica, not her real name, became the fourth member of the panel to quit. Now, Jessica was abused before she was even a teenager. She gave video evidence to the police when she was 12. It's taken 20 years for her to speak to the press.
Yeah.
And last night she chose to tell GB News that she was quitting this panel because of some of the politicisation of this issue.
Yeah,
and
they
the
want
anger she
to
has towards
ordinarise this panel by bringing in people like her and the four in total there, and yet that's exactly what they're not doing. Oh, we're government of the people. We're going to bring real people in. People have suffered from all of this, but actually we don't want to hear you sign this secrecy form, do this. It's absolutely scandalous. And I'll say it to any politician, the way politics is run in this country, the whole state system is absolutely rubbish. Absolutely rubbish. Nothing ever gets done. And it's all politicised. My view, what's your view? Let us know. Charlie, got to leave it there. Thanks very much indeed.
Yeah. I wanted to move on to the grooming gangs then. The headline on the front page of the Daily Mail is about the fact that the inquiry is in chaos. This is the fact that it's falling apart. Potential chairman, 3 victims pulling out amid fears of the fact that it's going to be a cover-up, that the remit could be expanded, and obviously also the fact it's going to take so long. Your thoughts?
Well, I think this is one of the greatest scandals that this country has ever faced, and my heart goes out to all of those victims who have been impacted in these shocking events over very many years. We had to push the government really hard to even agree to have a national inquiry. We made it clear that it should be a statutory inquiry, a judge-led inquiry, so either a retired or an active judge leading it. And what we've ended up with is very little progress since the original announcements were made by the government a few months ago, and a situation, as you say, where those on the victims panel do not have confidence, do not trust the system, and are pointing, amongst other things, to the fact that it's a retired policeman and a retired social worker that are being put forward to lead this inquiry. And they're 2 of the categories that are actually part of the investigative work that's going to have to be carried out here. So it is a shambles, and the government needs to get a grip. It owes it to the victims to do that.
Yeah, investigators investigating themselves, or the areas.
Well,
that they were in.
that's what they're fearing.
Yeah.
That's what they're fearing.